what's been happening in the Middle East. I've been trying to boycott anything that endorses what's happening in Palestine. So that for me, I would never associate myself with. I hope at least. I will stay in touch with the squash world as a fan. Maybe I'll coach a couple of players, but my full attention will probably go somewhere else. Do not compare yourself to anyone else. Everyone has got their own timeline. I became world number one at the age of 26. Some others have gone there at the age of 21. Some others at the age of 31. We're all world champions.
Hello everyone, this is me Uzair Hasan and you are watching the all-new episode of the Sapiens Experience podcast. We have been bringing entrepreneurs, businessmen and people who make difference around the globe. So keeping that streak alive, we are going to have this phenomenal sportsman joining us all the way from Egypt, the 4 times world champion of squash, Mr. Ali Farag. Hello Ali, how are you?
Hello, I'm very good. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you on this podcast.
Thank you, Ali, and it's a pleasure. And before starting this podcast, I've been watching some of your incredible matches and some of your incredible wins. Tell us how it all started, first of all, because seeing you this disciplined, it motivates me and it might be motivating hundreds around the globe as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, it all started with a coincidence, really. My dad used to play squash for fun with his friends, and I have an older brother, 2.5 years older than me, who's been my role model ever since I can remember, really. I mean, the very first word I said was his name before I even said mom or dad. So we've had this very strong relationship, and we still do, thank God. And yeah, he started playing, and then in between his lessons, I would sneak in and hit a few balls. And the coaches saw something in me that probably I'm a bit talented, and I fell in love with the sport. So a couple of years, or less than a couple of years later, a year later, I started taking up lessons myself. I loved the sport, and I never remember my parents dragging me to go to the squash club to play. You know, it was the other way around. They would drag me off court to go back home, you know. So I fell in love with the sport, started playing local tournaments. A couple of years later, I was doing well, and then I started playing international tournaments. And then from this point on, things kicked on, and I never looked back, really.
Ali, what it takes to become a world champion? First of all, we have seen, I'm from Pakistan myself, and we have grown up listening to stories of legendary squash players like Jahangir Khan and Jansher Khan and many others. So have you heard those stories as well, and what kept you running?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up, you know, the main reason many of my generation in Egypt started playing squash is that there was this tournament held in front of the pyramids, and there was a global star icon in Egypt called Ahmed Barada, and he was competing with Jansher Khan. Jahangir was retired at the time, and I saw Jansher play in front of the pyramids and in the Cairo International Stadium, and definitely I was so inspired to be like them one day. And I heard so many stories. My dad was a big fan of the sport, and he still is, and he was telling me all about it, how Jahangir was dominating the sport, and everyone said nobody can beat him, and Jansher came and he started competing with him. Each of them, one has, I think, 8 world titles, and another has 6 or 10. It's crazy what they've achieved, the longevity and the consistency. It's crazy. And just last month, or a couple of months ago, I had the honor to represent or present Jansher Khan into the Hall of Fame of squash. And
incredible.
That was a huge, like a 360 circle for me, you know, how it started, and now I'm the one presenting him to the Hall of Fame. It's something that I will always be honored for. And if I can achieve half of what they have achieved, I would be incredibly honored.
Ali, you mentioned that you are disciplined towards your sleep cycle. Youngsters these days, what we have seen, they overburden themselves, they overstress themselves. They are doing well, so they think that sleeping is not important, or sleeping for 3 to 4 hours or 5 hours and getting back to work is going to increase their productivity, but that somehow destroys their health as well. How do you see this?
I see it as something very important, and I wish I knew about it earlier in my life. You know, I've tried all sorts of recovery for my matches. When I had a hard match, when I had a hard physical session, the following day, I like to see how my body reacts, right? You want to know what makes it feel better the following day. I've tried recovery drinks, I've tried good food, I've tried physio sessions. And don't get me wrong, all of these things are extremely important. But the one factor that I think is the most important when it comes to recovery and to perform well or better the following day is sleep, 100%. And sleep, there is so many layers to sleep, not just the number of hours that you sleep. It's the consistency of when you go to bed and when you get out of bed.
Yeah.
And what you do the 3 hours prior going to bed. Yeah. Do you watch your mobile phone a lot? Do you watch screens a lot? Do you eat heavy before you go to bed? All of these things matter in the quality of your sleep. And that's why I wear this Whoop, which is something that monitors your sleep day in and day out. And it tells you how your recovery is the following day. And it's extremely important. And there is this one book that I read last year, and I wish I'd read it earlier, and I wish they taught us at school that. It's called Why We Sleep, and it tells you why we sleep, why it's important, how the body reacts when you sleep, and how it reacts if you don't sleep enough. And it's fascinating, and I not urge everyone, but I would ask everyone if they can to read that book. It's a very easy read as well.
Ali, we have seen that these days, especially the Gen Z, the Generation Z, they usually have alternates for everything. I have seen some videos as well in which there are certain individuals who are comparing or having an alternate for sleep as well, or having an alternate to recover their bodies as well, especially having an ice shower or keeping or being in a sauna. So do you think these things matters if we are going to compare that with the actual sleep?
Well, as I said, those things are very important, and I'm not saying that I do them myself. I do ice baths whenever I can. I do go to the physio, I eat well, I do my recovery drinks, I do minerals if I need to, but there is no alternative to sleep. Anything that God has created that is natural, there is no alternative to it. In my opinion, I mean, I think this is actually a scientific statement what I'm saying here, but I'm not sure. But even if it's not, from a personal experience, there is no alternative to sleep.
Ali, you have been playing with these phenomenal players who are from the best countries and who have the best dietary routine, who have the best sessions and coaches. Have you learned anything from them as well?
Very, very much so. You know, I've come up against so many inspiring athletes across the 25 years that I've been playing squash, and I've picked. At the end of the day, you want to be your own character. You want to be your own self, and you're never going to be a copy of anyone else, but each one of them had something to add to me in my learning experience, whether it be by telling me what I need to do, or whether it be by just watching them, or whether it be by them exploiting a weakness in me during a match of ours that I had to go back to the drawing board and think, okay, now I need to get better. But definitely, the things that have inspired me the most are the consistency and the discipline of my peers. You know, like I see the likes of Mohamed Sharbagi and Nick Matthew and Rami Ashour and all of these extremely talented players, and they never really just relied on their talent. You know, as the cliche says, talent is nothing if it's not backed up by hard work. And all of them has worked really hard to nurture that talent and make it even better. And by watching them, I'm just incredibly honored and lucky to see how they approach their life day in and day out.
Ali, do you manifest your wins before starting off these matches, or do you think about preparing yourself mentally in order to compete before the matches?
I think preparation and the mental side of things are the most important thing for any field of life, but especially excessive sport or competitive sport. It's, you know, so many things happen in a matter of instance during a match, and if you're not ready for them, no matter how strong or mentally strong you are, they're gonna get the better of you. If you're not prepared, that's why when I talk to my coach, what he likes to use more than mental fortitude is mental readiness or mental preparation. And I write down actually all the scenarios that I might go through before a match. I used to. Now they're more ingrained in my head because I've been doing that for many, many years. But I used to write down, I'm Ali Farag, this is how I play squash, this is how my opponent plays, this is how I want to play against him, and if this happens, this is how I'm going to react. If that happens, this is how I'm going to react. If the referee gives me a bad call, this is how I'm going to react. Because as I told you, there is so much emotion going, and there is so much riding on this as well. Like I've been training for 25 years. This is my life. This is my glory. This is how I make a living. So I want to make the most out of it. And you don't want to leave anything to chance. At the end of the day, you want to be prepared for every single scenario. And if there is one thing that I think separates the very best from the rest, is the mental preparation.
Ali, is there any strategy that you go through before competing with any of your competitor? Is there any particular move that you look up to, that what they are capable of, what their strong side is?
100%. So I prepare, as I told you, for every match. At the end of the day, you don't want to forget who you are, what your identity is. So I always remember that's why I start the sentence with, I'm Ali Farag, this is how I play squash, because I always want to remember that. I want to remember my strengths, because Nick Matthew, one of the legends of our sport, once said a very, very nice statement that I love to live by. He said, so many people focus on their weaknesses and they try to avoid them, but it's much better to focus on your strength and make it your super strength. And once you are unplayable in that strength, people are gonna struggle to exploit your weakness. So I always try to think of my strengths and how I wanna make them even better. And then I try to think of my opponents and what their weaknesses are, and I try to exploit them. But at the very top level, the weaknesses are very marginal.
Yeah.
And it's about who's going to dictate their own strength to the game plan. So I try to think of that whenever I go before a match. And again, no matter how much you prepare, you're gonna be thrown hard situations in a match. Like you're playing against top players, they also wanna dictate their own game plan. So who's gonna prevail there? And it's not black or white. It's not like I'm going to prevail today and he's going to prevail the next day. It's mini matches within the same match, or mini matches within the same rally. One point, you can be on top of it, and then he makes one good return and now he's on top of it. And who's going to stay calm during this situation is probably what's going to make the difference that day.
Ali, if we are going to compare some of the top rankers, especially the top 10, they usually came up with this idea of having an individual academy in order to train young individuals. Are you in that mood as well, or is it something that is left for the people who get retired from this sport?
Yeah, not for now, for sure. I mean, now you want to give yourself the best chance to compete against the best. So you want to dedicate 100% of your time, 100% of your effort, and more importantly, 100% of your headspace into your own training. You don't want to have any other distraction. So to have my own academy now, it's not something that I'm thinking of. In the future, maybe. Again, I don't think so, because as I told you, I've been in the squash community for 25 years. It's given me so much. I've married a beautiful girl through squash. I've gone to one of the best universities in the world through squash. I've met incredible people. I've so much rides on my squash. But now I'm very curious to explore different things in life. I will stay in touch with the squash world as a fan. Maybe I'll coach a couple of players, but my full attention will probably go somewhere else. What is it? I don't know yet, but I'll figure that out when the time comes.
Ali, let's talk about academics, and especially the people who are watching us right now. They might be having an idea of you being a Harvard student and you being in one of the top universities and you being one of the world champions. Tell us about this combination, first of all.
The one answer I would give you, my parents. I was a young kid who was struggling to find the right balance in life. But my parents, from a very young age, for my brother and I, they always told us you can never just be a student and you can never just be a squash player or an athlete. You have to have a hobby that you fully plunged in, like you're fully focused in, but you also have to be a very good student. And at times I was lost, and my squash would drop heavily because of academics, or my academics would drop because of squash. And they always found the right way to find the words, whether I needed to be told off, and Ali, now you're slackening off and you're being soft, or sometimes, Ali, it's fine, things are hard, and we're gonna ride the storm together. And I don't know how they did it, because I was crying many times, I was low on self-esteem, or I would see like my peers in squash that are not necessarily studying as much starting to beat me easily, and why am I doing this? And at times I even thought of quitting. And my parents always found the right way to calm me down and to ride the storm, as I mentioned. And I never thought I was gonna be a professional squash player. I always dreamt of being a squash player one day, a professional squash player. But because I come from a very academic family, most of my parents and my uncles and aunts and grandfathers our grandparents are doctors. So I always thought I was going to go into the academic world. But then somehow I decided to play professionally, which is a funny story on its own. But yeah, now I have no academics. I have, as I told you, I have my 110% focus on squash. And then once that is over, hopefully I can fall back onto my degree.
That's incredible. But for sure, this is something to learn as well. We are from the South Asian countries, and especially people living in South Asian countries, our parents especially believe that you cannot excel in both the worlds. You have to sacrifice one thing for the other. But you have completely changed that stereotype. So the league, I would really like to talk over here about the league's structure. In South Asian countries, cricket is one of the sports that is having the highest viewership, that is having the highest sponsors, the number of sponsors, and people are more inclined towards this sport. Tell us about Egypt in particular. Is the government helping you right now, or the other players who are going to be the next world champions in coming years?
Well, it's a tricky one because the government is doing the best they can to support squash and to support us. But also, as big as squash is in Egypt, it's still not as nearly as big as football, for example. Like, not all people know what squash is. Not all people know who the squash players are. But the government is trying, and to be fair, more than the government, it's the private sector. The private companies are trying to sponsor us, sponsor events. You can go to Egypt now and see a lot of top tier tournaments happening in juniors and in professionals. And that definitely helps grow the viewership and the profile of our sport. But definitely would like to see more, not just in Egypt, but everywhere in the world. We'd like to see, thankfully, squash has been now included in the Olympics in 2028, finally, after so many years of trying. And hopefully that gives the sport the boost it needs to get to the world stage that it deserves.
Ali, let's talk a little about comparisons. And if you're going to compare Egypt with Pakistan, for several years we have seen Pakistan dominated the squash. The legacy shifted after a while. What was the reason for that shift that you have identified so far when you are analyzing the situation? We are not going to say the downfall of squash, but we have seen the legacy shift, or the era of that sports have completely moved. What we saw, or our parents saw earlier.
Yeah, I mean, it's if I'm being honest, it's sad in a way to not see Pakistan on top of the squash world anymore. Because, as I told you, Jahangir and Janshar are the people that all of us looked up to growing up. There are still great players from Pakistan, but not necessarily inside the top 10 or top 20. And we'd love to see that coming back. How and when is a question for the people in Pakistan. I'm not exactly aware of the situation over there. But definitely, if we can learn anything from Pakistan, is how to nourish and nurture champions, but also how to try and keep that legacy for a long period of time. Hopefully we can see Pakistan and Egypt dominating the squash world again at some point, because it would be something of a great honor for both nations for sure.
There are youngsters out there who are watching you and other players playing this sport. So especially a player who is right now struggling to identify that what he is going to achieve after several years, and he want to compete in this sport as well. What are 2 to 3 things that you would guide them or instruct them to focus on right now?
The thing is that in any field of life, to start that and only have one thing in mind and to be the top player, I don't think it's a healthy way of approaching things. Definitely, all of us should aspire to be the best we can be and the best in any field we are, but it's also about the journey. I mean, how many people have the privilege to turn a lifelong hobby into a profession? So many people do not have that privilege, but us squash players and as squash fans as well, we have that privilege. So that in itself is a great, a great asset to become a professional squash player. The second thing is how many people have the chance to tour the world, meeting incredible people around the world, learning about different cultures and learning new things every single day. So that's another huge asset of becoming a professional squash player. And the third and the most important one is what you learn about yourself throughout the adversities that you're gonna face. If let's say you graduate from college at 22 and you've got 5 or 6 years of playing squash professionally, you have that privilege. I would encourage everyone to do it because it's gonna teach you so much about yourself that no matter what you pursue afterwards, you're going to be a completely changed person. And I think that in itself is something that should encourage all players to turn pro whenever they have the chance.
Ali, you have been performing in front of your home crowd as well. Do you think there is something different when you are performing in front of your home crowd in your own country?
100%. Performing in front of your home crowd not only gives you the boost when you're tired, when you're down, or any of that, but it's more of a thank you to everyone who's made you the person and the player you are today, to watch you and watch you win one game, one match. It's like, look, all the hard work that you've put in me and all the belief that you've instilled in me from a very young age, this win or this tournament win or this match win is just for you. So it's something that I really, really embrace every time I step on a squash court in Egypt. And it's something that's going to stay with me for a very long, long time.
Ali, this is a different kind of question. When you are competing with the top 5 people in the world, we have seen you playing with them in the squash court. How's the conversation after the match, and when you are having a conversation on a lighter note, what do you guys talk about?
Squash is a funny sport, man. I mean, we kill each other on court. Like there is no love lost, as they say, when we're on court. We step off court, 10 minutes, everyone, the loser is not happy. 30 minutes later, we're joking with each other, we're having breakfast together the following day, it's, and then when we play world teams together, if a competitor is from Egypt, we're now on the same team. It's brilliant. We saw Federer and Nadal in tennis, how they did it for 20 years. They were fierce competitors, but also very respectable towards each other afterwards, and they were very good friends. I think it's the case in Egypt or in squash. Yes, there have been moments where things have happened on court and we hold a grudge against each other off court for a while, but it fades away after a while. And some of my closest friends in life are my competitors. Like, it's amazing because we travel the world with each other. Like, sometimes I see them more than I see my own parents, So
wow.
it's hard not to love them. And if you don't love them, you're gonna hate your life.
You don't think that rivalry or that animosity is going to be there for long between the competitors?
That's why I'm telling you, it's a funny place. Like, there is this animosity when we step on court, and this, like, I want to kill you more than anything in life now. And once we step off court, it's like, I want to hang out with you. It's so funny. I don't know how we do it. Like, if you tell me from the outside, this is how it is, I wouldn't believe you, but it is how it is. So I absolutely love it, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
And when people from your own country meets you, greets you, and applauds you, but after a while they are going to be like, okay, I'm going to take your position. Do you take that as a positive thing, or you really get pissed at that thing?
Very positive, because I did the same. I mean, Rami Ashour was my idol and still is for many, many years. As I told you, from the age of 10 or 12, he was training at my own club. He was world champion, world junior champion, and then world seniors champion. And he would step on court with me to give me advice. He was very generous with his time. And then one day I step on court with him, and I'm supposed to beat him. And the first time I played with him, I gave him so much respect. And I remember the people around me were upset with me. Ali, respect is not going to go away. You're always going to respect Rami. But once you step on court, you forget who your opponent is. You have to try and beat him. You have to be your best. And the following time I played with him, I tried to do that. And I expect every upcoming junior to do the same. And this is what Rami would have wanted me to do, to try and go at my very best against him. And this is what I want the upcoming juniors to do, because this is how the cycle keeps rolling. Otherwise, if they give you so much respect, they're never going to get there.
And Ali, what do you enjoy doing apart from playing squash? Like when you are on your off season and you're not competing?
A few things. First and foremost, spending time with family. Because as I told you, we're away for so many days of the year. So now we have a little daughter, 3.5 years old.
Oh, wow.
She's growing very fast. So I want to cherish every single moment with her. I like to spend time with my brother, with my cousins, with my family. And then I love entrepreneurship. Like, I try to keep myself as involved as possible with the new ventures, with the new startups, with all of that, to try and keep myself sharp so that when I quit squash, this is what my next venture is going to be, I think. And also, I like to learn a lot about self-development through my religion, through reading books. I think it's fascinating to know more about who you are as a person, how the world works, how the human spirit or human soul works as well. All of these things are fascinating to me, so I try to learn more and more about them every day.
Ali, let's talk about income for squash players. Tell us about the number of income streams that a squash player has in order to earn their livelihood.
Yeah, so there are different revenue streams for squash players. Mostly it's the prize money that you make from playing tournaments. It depends on what you finish, how much money you're gonna get back. So prize money from tournaments is one. Two is sponsorships, which is huge as well. So the private companies pay you money to represent them, especially the brand of racket that you play with, because obviously they want to endorse their products. So if you play in them, they give you money to play in them. And then there is the invitational events or the exhibition. So a specific club would ask you to come and play an exhibition event at their club, and they pay you money for it. You can also do through camps and through coaching if you want to. So I would say those are the four main revenue streams for squash players.
We have talked about the income streams. Let's talk about the brands that you don't want to be associated with. Are there any brands or in particular any products that you don't want to get associated with?
Well, I mean, given my religion and where I come from the Middle East, I wouldn't like to represent anything that is against my religion, whether it be alcohol or any of that. And also, ever since what's been happening in the Middle East, I've been trying to boycott anything that endorses what's happening in Palestine. So that for me, I would never associate myself with. I hope at least. But other than that, I'm happy to endorse any brand that I think have got the right values and they're adding value to the society.
Ali, let's talk about digital media. Digital media has affected all our lives, everyone around the globe. So is there any particular digital media platform that you are really active on currently and you really look up to or scroll like us?
Yes, so I think digital media is a great asset if it's well utilized. I think all of us, but not all of us, most of us malutilize it. We overdo it. I think there is more to do with our time than just scrolling through social media 2-3 hours a day, which we all do and we're all a part of it. I've tried to minimize that over the past couple of years. I don't do Instagram or Facebook anymore. I only post when I have a match or when I have a result of a match that I want to tell to the people that are following me. But unfortunately, I'm still wasting a lot of time on Twitter. I love football too much, soccer. Okay. I love football, and I'm a big Arsenal fan, so I follow all the football accounts and I scroll through Twitter or X now as they call it. But I would like to minimize that as well and utilize that time to spend with my daughter or to learn something better with that time.
Ali, these comments and these reactions across all social media platforms in terms of people from different countries, people from different ethnicities, talking or telling you about your game, talking or telling you about what you should be doing or shouldn't be doing, does that affect you as well?
100%. It affects me in a positive way. You know, how many people in their work are praised by so many around the world. You know, it's a privilege that I have to embrace. Of course, sometimes it can turn negative. Sometimes it can turn even malicious from some people. But if you look at the most of them, they're mostly positive. So I take that as a very big positive thing, but also as a responsibility. You know, once you reach a certain level in your sport, you have a responsibility. People look up to you in a certain way, so you have to conduct yourself in a certain way on and off the court. Having said that, I don't always conduct myself in the best manner possible, but when I do that, I always want to be honest with myself and say that I've done a mistake here and I'm very sorry and I'll try to react better. That's all I can do. But if I just keep on focusing on the negative comments, it's going to get me nowhere really.
But seeing those negative comments, do you think it affects you in particular, like in terms of your performance or in terms of how you interact with people?
Thankfully not, because I have a great deal of people around me in terms of my parents, my wife, my coaches. They always are very honest with me. If I do something wrong, they will tell me off before anyone on social media tells me off. And if the people on social media tell me off because of a bias, then I don't care. If it's because of an honest opinion, I've already had this told to me by by the people around me. So I don't think it adds so much to my thinking. But obviously, if there is something constructive there that I haven't thought about, I'll definitely take it on board.
Ali, we have talked about different things in terms of mental health pressure and the physical health pressure that you go through. So the main and most important part is the diet. Have your diet evolved over these years, or is it the same, or it's more protein, less carbs? How's your diet right
It has
now?
definitely evolved over the years. Thankfully, I'm the type of body that never gains weight. So that makes things a lot easier for me.
Wow.
I'm very lucky in that regard. But I try to stay as disciplined as possible. When I first started the tour professionally, full time, I had a lot of cramps. So I had to do a lot of research regarding how much carbs I need in my body, how much protein, how much. I've talked to a couple of nutritionists and I've found a formula. I'm not super strict, but I like to have every single macronutrient in every meal. So carbs, protein, and vegetables in every meal. I have to have those. Not breakfast, but definitely my lunch and dinner. And I try to avoid sweet stuff. I try to avoid, like I would do that once a week. Fast.
But you do consume sweets as well, right?
I do sweets once a week. Just
Okay.
I don't want to deprive myself so much so that I start hating my job, but I also want to stay disciplined. So I think once a week is a good balance. Sometimes I lose it and it's more than once a week, but for the most part it's once a week. And then I do the recovery drink after big matches, which is 3-to-1 carbs to protein ratio. I read that this is the best for your recovery, and it's been working well with me. And ever since, my cramps have become a lot less. So it seems that it's been working. And also, it's not necessarily a dietary restriction, but when you eat food, I try to eat food a lot earlier now than I used to because it affects my sleep big time.
Do you think fasting affects any sportsman health, especially when you are having this much of exertion on your body?
So I've been playing tournaments while I was fasting the past couple of years, and it's been very hard on the body, to be honest. It doesn't affect how you play. It just after the match, you feel very, very weak. And last year, my father-in-law is a nephrologist, which is a doctor who's a doctor for kidneys. And he said this is very unhealthy for your kidneys. And I've opted not to play any tournaments in Ramadan this time around. But fasting on its own, I think is very healthy for your body. It cleanses everything, like it what's the word? It reignites.
Or restarts your body.
Restarts your body. Restarts your body in a very healthy way. And that's why I love fasting. For so many reasons, I love fasting, but I love fasting every year because I think it's very healthy for my body.
So Ali, towards the end, what you would like to say for everyone who is competing in their own lives right now? Not sports, but people are going through a lot. Some might be having those mental disorders. Some might be having those, even if we talk about students, they might be having those exams and they're stressed out. What would you like to tell them?
It's a great question and I get asked it a lot and I don't have a specific answer. And the reason is, I think every one of us has got a different story to write. And if you try comparing yourself to someone in the sports world or in the business world, or obviously there are things that you can pick here and there from each person. But at the end of the day, you have your own book to write. Do not compare yourself to anyone else. If there is one advice that I loved getting and I would love to pass it on, it is this one. Do not compare yourself to anyone else. Everyone has got their own timeline. I became world number one at the age of 26. Some others have gone there at the age of 21. Some others at the age of 31. We're all world champions. No one of us is better than the other. And some people didn't get there and they've become a lot more successful in other fields of life. So, and it's not about this success, it's about the success of being satisfied with what you have. You can have so little, but be satisfied with it. And you can have so much and still be so hungry and not satisfied in your life. So it's this balance of doing your very best every single day and then be satisfied with the outcome. I know it's very hard to achieve, but once you have the right perspective, once you read the right books, when you have the right faith in your life, you have the right people around you, I think this is very achievable.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ali, for being part of this podcast. And it was such a pleasure talking to you. And I have learned, in fact, a lot from you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I've learned from you and I couldn't be happier to have been with you, and hopefully it won't be the last time.
Thank you. And with that, this is Uzair signing off. And who you would like to see next on our podcast, you can definitely let us know. You can DM us or you can write if you're watching this on YouTube. So you can definitely leave us a comment that who you would like to see next on the podcast. I'll see you in another podcast. Till then, take care.